Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, final hour here of the Hunt Palmer Show this week. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. LSU and Kansas State starting up from Frisco, Texas as we speak. You can listen to that on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. I'm checking out the feed right now. Looks like a nice crowd of purple and gold there in Frisco. According to some folks in the know, tomorrow's game between LSU and Nebraska in Frisco is sold out, which should be an awesome, awesome environment for LSU. I mean, I'm imagining Nebraska might bring 11 people, so I'm thinking the other tickets that have been sold at Riders Field for tomorrow are going to be fully purple and gold, which should be awesome for the Tigers. So I'll keep you updated as we move forward over the next hour, but we're not going to talk really any baseball because I feel like if you want to hear about baseball, you probably like to watch or listen to the baseball team. You'll probably be doing some of that. So we'll talk about some other things as LSU and Kansas State get rolling. Derek Curiel digging in as we speak. LSU and Mississippi State tomorrow from Humphrey Coliseum. This is a game between LSU and a Mississippi State team that's right there in the middle of the SEC. They're 7-8 in league play, but very securely in the field of 68. They've got some good wins. They swept Ole Miss this year, which is really impressive for Chris Jans' team. They crushed Texas A&M by 16 points, which is a really impressive effort as well. They have lost their last 2. They lost at Oklahoma, which is not a great loss. Lost that game 93-87. I saw that score. Like, Oklahoma scored 93 points on a Chris Jans team. And then Alabama said, watch this. And Mississippi State went to Tuscaloosa, and Alabama scored 111 in that game. 111-73 was the final there. So been a bit of a rough go defensively for Mississippi State in their last 2 ball games. I feel like LSU's probably an elixir for that in a hurry. I want to talk about this Mississippi State team here briefly. Josh Hubbard, 18.5 points a game. He's their best player for sure. Really good, small combo guard. 3.5 assists, also leads the team. He's a decent three-point shooter, 34%, but he can get hot. I remember I was in the PMAC last year when Mississippi State came here, and it was actually like exactly a year from, because we moved 2 days ago, 2024, and we went that night to the game, and Hubbard just lit LSU up. LSU couldn't guard him at all. He's an 88% free throw shooter, really good player. He's the guy that LSU's got to watch. Beck, I don't know if I've ever seen this before. I'm perusing stat pages, and I'm certainly aware of RJ Melendez.
Yes.
He's a wing for Mississippi State who shoots a lot of threes. Like, he shot 57 threes in league play. That's not an insignificant amount. He's 11 for 57. That's 19%.
Wow.
Is Chris Jans? Does anybody want to look at him and go, hey, RJ, can we just not shoot? That's 19%.
I thought Curtis Givens at like 27% was not very good.
I have seen guys that are like 1 for 11 for the season on threes. Like, you shoot 2 a month, you don't ever make them, but you got wide open or whatever. This guy's shooting like 3-4 a night, and he never makes any of them.
That's incredible. I mean, you would think that maybe they would tell, hey, just, maybe if you're wide open, you got him in rhythm, maybe.
Here's what I would say: if you're wide open, then put it on the floor and go to the rim, because you can't shoot. You're shooting 19%. I can stand out there and shoot left-handed and go about 19%. Just don't play any defense on me.
Yeah.
So that stat, like, every once in a while you're scrolling through a stats page, getting like, I'm prepping for something, and you look and go, wait, is that right?
That's conference play.
That's just in conference play.
Okay, yeah, because he's 25%, which is not a lot better.
So he was scalding in December.
25.5%.
He was just ripping nets against the SWAC teams in December. Just incredible stuff there. Keyshawn Murphy is the problem for LSU. This is the guy that's going to create the issues. He's 6'10", big junior post player. He's a true post. He shoots 61% from the floor, and he's just big and physical, and LSU's going to have a hard time dealing with him. That's the nature of where LSU is. Everybody that you look at in the league, they're going to have somebody that's big and physical, and LSU doesn't have anyone to counter that. So we'll see how they handle Keyshawn Murphy in this game. Mississippi State's not as good defensively as they have been under Chris Jans this year. They're 152nd in defensive efficiency, which is not great for his program. They're usually a grinded out, tough, physical defensive team, and that bears itself out when they gave up 93 2 games ago and 111 against Alabama. They don't force a lot of turnovers either, 189th in the country in turnovers forced, and LSU has found a way to stop the turnovers. They don't turn the ball over very much anymore. One of the best teams in the league as far as turnovers go over the last 3 weeks. So for LSU, you should be able to find some weak spots in this Mississippi State defense. Can you exploit it? I don't expect them to find weak spots against Florida or Tennessee. Against Mississippi State, they probably should. Cam Carter, of course, former Mississippi State Bulldog. Got to get him going somehow, some way. There's no two ways about it. Now, Mississippi State on offense is a little bit better than they have been in the Jans era. They've been a very defensive program. Their offense is pretty good. It's interesting that only Florida and Bama shoot more threes per game than Mississippi State. And as in keeping with the theme with RJ Melendez, they're 309th in the country in three-point shooting percentage. They're worse than LSU from the three-point line. LSU's 303rd in the country. Mississippi State's 309th, and they shoot the third most in the league. So they kind of bombs away, even they're not great at making those shots. What they are good at is offensive rebounding. And what do we know about LSU? They do not do a good job of defensive rebounding at all. I feel bad that every time I talk about one of these games, it's like, hey, LSU doesn't defensive rebound. The other team's probably going to get a lot of offensive rebounds. And then you watch the game, and the other team does get a lot of offensive rebounds. I talked about this entering the Tennessee game. I'll talk about it again with Mississippi State. The magic number here for LSU is probably 13.5. If LSU can limit Mississippi State to under 13.5 offensive rebounds, they'll have a chance. If it starts getting up to 18, 19, you just don't, because you're going to give up 25 second chance points, and you can't offset that. LSU's field goal percentage defense is in the top 35 in the country. That's really hard to believe, but they just can't rebound. And I don't think it's fixable. They don't have the dudes. Like, you could play Corey Chest more, and I think that would help. But that's really the only answer that I've got. And I don't think it's a very good one. So for LSU, you're going on the road to the hump. You're facing a team that you should be able to score some points off of, but it is more physical than you, is bigger than you. And my gut tells me, without looking at a line, that it's probably close to a 10-point number. And my gut tells me that Mississippi State is going to get a ton of offensive rebounds, and they're going to score in the upper 70s, and LSU's probably going to get caught in the mid 60s, and they're probably going to lose by 15 points. Like, that's basically the short version of what this one should look like. The game against Florida looked like I thought it would, outside of the 6 minutes where LSU went nuts. The Tennessee game went exactly to script. We'll see if this one is the same. The problem with LSU is they're just not able to impose their identity on anybody. The other team's identity, generally speaking, overwhelms LSU, and I expect more of that in the game on Saturday. The way that LSU keeps it close is if Mississippi State shoots a lot of threes, misses a lot of threes, LSU controls the rebounds, and you're able to probe that Mississippi State defense in the way that a lot of other teams have. Oklahoma's not way more talented than LSU. LSU went to Norman and won, and Oklahoma beat this team. Now, granted, that was in Norman and this is in Starkville, but LSU can keep up with Mississippi State. I just don't think that they will. So that's our look at the LSU basketball game coming up tomorrow from the hump. You can hear that one on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. I'll have a preview on LouisianaSports.net tomorrow, and certainly a post-game story up as well. But we'll leave basketball in the rearview mirror there. Jared Jones robbed of a base hit in the first inning for LSU. Daniel Dickinson was hit by a pitch. He's at first base with 2 outs, and Ethan Fry at the dish. So we'll get you caught up on scores as we progress through this hour. When we come back, let's talk a little Saints football. There have been some NFL breaking news over the last 5 hours, and we'll talk about that and how it relates to the New Orleans Saints. We'll do that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. Mitchell Fisher and his team, just phenomenal to work with. I've told you many times that they handled our installation of our surround sound in the living room and set up our home entertainment system, and it's been phenomenal start to finish. They hung the television, they set up the smart TV, and they've got the remote that's even easy that I can go through it. It's digital, and you can scroll through. My kid now knows how to put on The Little Mermaid. if he can figure it out, then you can probably figure it out as well. And it works phenomenally well. We can transition the sound from the kitchen to the living room to outside. If we ever host a game watching party and you want to make sure that all the television sounds are synced up so you don't have one television that's in front of the other one or one sound that's in front of the other one, you can control all of that with a touch of a button on an app. It's stuff like that I didn't know existed. Not that bright, but you may not know either. Mitchell Fisher and his team do. You got to give him a call. This is his cell phone number. I love being able to give you that as well because he's the point person for you on your project. His cell is 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920. It's audio video security solutions. You can find them online at avssla.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Sounds like there are some cranky LSU fans on the internet at the moment. A lot of people getting you're waiting in line to watch the game or something. I'm not sure about all of it. My stream fired right up here on the desk. I've watched every pitch so far. LSU left one in the first. Daniel Dickinson stranded on first base. Ethan Fry struck out. And now Cade Anderson issued a 4-pitch walk in the bottom of the first inning. He's now working on the number 2 hitter for Kansas State. So I got it all right here, but apparently it's not going super awesome. Beck, you don't sound super shocked that D1's having some issues.
Well, it's not easy to stream. I mean, we saw even with Netflix, who are the biggest streamer in the world, having problems when they tried to stream the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight. So, it doesn't matter, and especially for someone like Dio in baseball, who this isn't their primary thing, is not streaming games. It's mainly writing articles and doing social media content. So trying to stream a game and having hundreds, if not maybe thousands of people trying to watch this game.
LSU is just a different animal.
It is.
Than streaming the Texas versus Minnesota game.
It's not.
It's a different thing.
Is.
You're going to get thousands of people at 2:00 on a Friday that want to watch that.
Yep.
And it needs to work. So
it does.
I don't know anything about how the technology that has to happen, but it needs to work, and it appears that it is not currently. But I got it, so I'll let you know how things are going. Cade Anderson just got a strikeout, so we'll keep you posted as LSU and Kansas State move forward. They're scoreless in the bottom of the first inning right now. The news of the day in the NFL is that Matt Stafford has agreed to a new deal with the Rams. Now, he was allowed by the Rams to kind of test his market value and see if he wanted to be moved. And it sounds like that didn't go super well. So I could take it one of two ways with the Saints and how this impacts them or doesn't. It could be a situation where if nobody wants Matt Stafford, then certainly you don't want Derek Carr. If some teams did want Matt Stafford, but he didn't reciprocate that interest, and they're still shopping for a quarterback, maybe Derek Carr is someone they might want to look at. Because there's reporting that's being done that the Giants are very interested in potentially bringing Aaron Rodgers in. And I made the comparison earlier this week between Matt Stafford and Derek Carr, and I said Stafford's better, but Carr's a little bit younger, and they're similar in terms of their production. I would suggest that Stafford was in a little bit better situation with Sean McVay calling the plays and the Rams infrastructure than Derek Carr has been over the last 2 years in New Orleans. But I think he's a little bit better and a little bit older. And if you're willing to make a move for Matt Stafford, I feel like you're at least willing to listen to a situation where you could bring in Derek Carr. Maybe not, but maybe. I'm ratcheting that up a notch if we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Because Aaron Rodgers was wildly mediocre this past year. Yes, one of the 15 most talented quarterbacks, best quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. No argument there. The man is in his 40s. He's not as athletic and agile as he once was. There's probably not as much zip on the old fastball. I don't know how bad he even wants it. And his production was bad last year, and he was hurt the year before that. So if you want to bring in Aaron Rodgers, who is well past his prime and can be considered by a lot of folks as a locker room issue, or at least a head case in terms of his focus, his commitment to the team, his ability to show up for OTAs and all that kind of stuff, well, then you would have to listen to something with Derek Carr. I think you would have to. Say what you will about Derek Carr and his production or his talent level or any of those things, and I understand all the detractors that don't think much of Derek Carr at all. But he's going to show up. He's going to be a quality teammate. He's going to give you effort. He's going to play through pain. He's tough. He's team first. He says all the right things. Yeah, he had some dust-ups with his players the first year. But that's a guy who wants to win, I think. And so I guess let me do this. Let me phrase it this way. Beck, if I gave you, who's an average roster? If I gave you Tampa Bay's roster, that's an average roster.
Yeah.
Minnesota's roster, I think that's
pretty average.
Probably better than that. But and you took Baker or obviously Arnold or whoever off the front, and that's okay. You get, with an average roster, you get 17 games of Aaron Rodgers or 17 games of Derek Carr. Who are you taking?
Probably Derek Carr because he plays. Aaron Rodgers hasn't played a lot. I don't know.
Even when he's played,
and even when he's playing, he hasn't been that good. But I don't even know. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what we're going to get from Aaron Rodgers when he plays again. We just don't.
Correct. And I think you do know what you're going to get from Derek Carr.
You do.
You're going to get the 16th best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
He's not going to throw 19 interceptions. He's not going to be overwhelmed by what you ask him to do. And he's not going to throw for 4,800 yards and 40 touchdowns. But he's going to be the 17th best quarterback in the NFL. And I feel like if that's what you're looking for, and you're looking for that in Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, like I think it's at least a question that has to be asked.
It has to be, yeah.
And I'm, again, all this is completely moot if what Mickey Loomis said at the microphone this week, we've got a guy we think we can win with, we're excited about it. And then Nick Underhill's reporting that he'll be back. If all that's true, then there's not a discussion. But I don't know that to be true, so you at least have to humor the discussion. And I realize that when I say this, and I've seen the comments on Instagram, and I've seen the comments on Facebook, and I've seen people on Twitter, and I get it. I understand that when I start talking about the merits of Derek Carr and why someone may want him, Saints fans immediately jump to the keyboard and go, this guy is an idiot. Derek Carr sucks. Like, I get it. I know how Saints fans feel about Derek Carr. I can look at Crew Day Tots, who's rolling today, and the Mardi Gras floats that have Derek Carr battered and bruised on the front of a float with Mickey Loomis. I get how the city feels about Derek Carr. But you have to realize that that's in a bubble, and you're emotionally invested in the fact that the Saints have not been good for 2 years, and he's not Drew Brees, and you don't like him. But there's a different perspective that comes from outside the Saints organization, and NFL teams will trip and fall all over themselves for somebody they think can be a stable quarterback. It's just how NFL franchises look at this position. We're talking about a league that has taken very, very early draft picks on guys like Trey Lance and Jake Locker and, Paxton Lynch. This is what we're talking about. The first-round picks, early first-round picks. This guy, at least can play a little bit. So, again, maybe it's pie in the sky. Maybe I'm reaching. Maybe I've lost my mind. But if you're willing to kick the tires on 38-year-old Matt Stafford and you're willing to look at 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers and you're the Giants, wouldn't you just maybe, if you could get Derek Carr for a 5th-round pick, take a flyer? Because if I'm the Saints, I'm all about it. Any draft pick, almost any draft pick, maybe even a 7, almost any draft pick, I'm willing to look at and offload Derek Carr and take it. There's almost a no % chance your 7th-round draft pick can make the team. Almost. And I would still take it because it does 2 things. It shows a new direction for the franchise instead of just pedaling in neutral. Because that's what you're doing with Derek Carr powering your bicycle. You're a stationary bicycle. You're moving, you're pedaling, you're not going anywhere. There's no chance you're going anywhere with Derek Carr. At least at this point, you get out of neutral and you understand that your direction is either Spencer Rattler, some veteran on the cheap, whether it's, Justin Fields or Daniel Jones or whatever, and then you maybe go to the draft, but it's not trying to cling to Derek Carr. And that's ultimately where you're trying to get, whether or not the Saints want to admit that. So, to me, I'm hopeful. I mentioned this yesterday. It's kind of the same song and dance. But it really comes down to what is the news that we heard today? How is it relevant? Is it, well, nobody wants Matt Stafford, so of course nobody wants Derek Carr? Or is it that Matt Stafford wasn't as fired up to maybe go somewhere, but you could, now that they can't get him, you may be able to plug Derek Carr into that spot? I just have to think, if you're willing to kick the tires on Aaron Rodgers, that you're willing to kick the tires on Derek Carr. That, to me, doesn't seem ludicrous. I know it feels that way to Saints fans when you take one of the top 15 quarterbacks who's ever played and you compare it to a guy that you think stinks. I get it. But we got to be a little bit more objective than that and kind of survey the entire situation and look to see if maybe that's possible. And if Mickey Loomis isn't on the phone making those phone calls, he's negligent in his duties, which that's a whole different discussion for a different day. This day, we're just talking about this situation. But the point remains. The Saints need to try to move on from that. We've got a station survey coming up at LouisianaSports.net tomorrow that surveys the entire station, talking about what the Saints should do with Derek Carr in the quarterback position. And there are a lot of people that are on the same page, but there are some that see things differently. T-Bob's one of them. Jacob and I are kind of on the same page. Then you look towards some of the other guys that we talked about. So you can see all that up on our website, LouisianaSports.net, coming up tomorrow, probably first thing in the morning. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. You're headed out to a Mardi Gras parade this weekend. Check them out. They can do catering for you and your big crowd on the parade route. It's Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We'll step aside. We got 30 minutes to go. Hope you'll come back with us on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
We're back here. Hunt Palmer Show brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Man, the internet is just on fire right now over this baseball streaming. I can tell you that LSU and Kansas State are tied at 0 in the bottom of the second inning. Cade Anderson working with one out there and a runner on first base. I believe he hit a batter there. They didn't show it because it was on a replay, but I have not had a single issue with the stream. I fired it up right before the first pitch, and it has cruised right along. I feel terrible for those of you who have paid for this and it not working. That's endlessly frustrating and something that D1 Baseball's got to figure out, because obviously they've had issues with this in consecutive years with LSU. Well, not consecutive years, consecutive times LSU's had the opportunity this year, and then 2 years ago in Round Rock there were apparently some issues as well. I didn't have any issues that weekend either, so it's not been something I've experienced, but I get that that's maddening to actual pay money and then to have issues trying to watch is crazy. So right now, Kansas State threatening LSU. They've got runners on the corners, well, maybe runners at second and third, as they've got a couple of runners on base against Cade Anderson. We'll keep you posted with the score as we move forward there. They're in the bottom of the second. We got any Mardi Gras plans this weekend? Big Mardi Gras weekend, Beck. You going to get involved in any of that?
No, I don't think so. I was thinking about considering going to Spanish Town on Saturday, but just haven't been super impressed with it the last few years. So probably not, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes we make the trek down to New Orleans, but it's just a big undertaking to do that. So
it is a big undertaking. It's also very, very fun. Cass,
yeah.
You're a New Orleans lady. Are you like 100% in on Mardi Gras, or like eh?
I could take it or leave it.
Okay.
I mean, like I've lived there my whole life. I'm more in Metairie than like New Orleans, but
okay.
I like going to the uptown parades. Those are a lot better than downtown.
Downtown's a scene.
Yeah.
I did that in college, and I'm never probably going to do that again. I do like uptown, but much more of a family feel. That's where we would be if we weren't, I might get a phone call like in this segment that I have to leave and go to the hospital. So we'll see. But it's always a great weekend down there in New Orleans. My friends are all in for it. Did my time down there in college. We had some interesting stories that would come out from Mardi Gras. I had some friends go to jail for trying to reach over a bar and grab beer out. They don't. That's not a don't do that during Mardi Gras. That's a you're going to jail.
Yeah.
And so they did that. Had one kid come down with a friend of mine. So we were all from Louisiana. He was from Virginia. Had never been to Mardi Gras. He came out. He came with us. Had 11 too many drinks. Tried to walk out of the cab, which was a minivan cab. Tripped coming out of the cab into the curb.
Ooh.
Had to go to the dentist the next day and have some significant work done.
You take him to your dad?
No, we were in New Orleans.
You're in New Orleans, yeah.
We had to go. But it's hard to find a dentist office that's open on the Monday of Mardi Gras. We had to go out to River Ridge. I don't even know where it was, but I remember because at that time I was a freshman at LSU. And the reason I knew what River Ridge was is because it was where John Curtis was.
Yes.
But that's where the internet told us to go. So we went out to River Ridge and got his teeth fixed. So yeah, stay safe out there and enjoy the time out there on the Mardi Gras routes here around South Louisiana. I want to talk a little bit of LSU football here in this segment. Got 2 segments to go. LSU now is obviously in the market for a defensive line coach. And I talked about this yesterday that theoretically Kevin Peoples could do this job, but I don't think they're going to do that. What I know for sure is that LSU is not going to just not fill the position. That sounds obvious, but Kevin Peoples has coached defensive line at 8 different stops. So he could theoretically coach the defensive line. My thing about it is Kevin Peoples did such a good job with Savion Jones and Braden Swinson last year that why would you take him away from that? Like, you found something that works. Don't weaken yourself twice to try to fill a hole. Leave Peoples there. Bring somebody in that can coach on the defensive line. And one of the names that is certainly going to be mentioned here is Meatball, is Dennis Johnson. Dennis Johnson played at LSU. He was a GA at LSU. He became assistant defensive line coach at LSU, and then Dave Aranda got the Baylor job and took Dennis Johnson with him to Waco. He's now in Baltimore with the Ravens, and yeah, that's one of the best organizations in football. It is at the highest level, but it goes back to kind of what you're looking for, and I can't know that. I can't know for sure what Bo Davis's motivation was in taking the Saints job. Certainly, Pete Jenkins came on Matt Moscona's After Further Review yesterday and said it had a lot to do with the NIL and him being outbid, as Pete Jenkins put it, for 2 guys in the portal. You're talking about Simeon Barrow and Dominic Williams there, who LSU wasn't able to land. Apparently, that rubbed Bo Davis the wrong way. And then a great opportunity presented itself. I don't know if Bo Davis would have taken a job with the Seahawks or not. Guy that's from Mississippi, that's worked at Alabama and Austin, Texas, and then here at LSU, has spent his whole life in this region, basically. Would he have taken the Seahawks job? Would he go to the Cleveland Browns to coach their defensive line? Or was this just an opportunity at just about the same money to go right down the road, to remain close to home and not have to deal with all that? I don't know. It's impossible to know. And I can't know if Dennis Johnson would be on Brian Kelly's list or if he would want to come back to the college ranks. I've had a number of conversations with Meatball back when he was an assistant coach at LSU, and I know that he loves LSU. I know that he loved the recruiting side of it. But the thing about now hiring assistants is how much of it do you put into recruiting? Because some of that skill, that relationship building skill, has been eroded for just, well, what's the NIL situation? Like, how much are you going to pay me? And that devalues the recruiting side of it and rubs coaches the wrong way. When you feel like you're the best at something, you're the best at developing relationships and making your pitch and connecting with young people, and you feel like you've done that, and then the school 2 states over drops a bag on them and you don't get that player, well, that hurts. That sucks. And so some folks will want to get involved and do things like that. Some will not at all. And it's hard to suggest what each coach feels like if you don't know them. I do know this. Matt Moscona went to one of the Brian Kelly press conferences during the season. I don't remember which one it was. It was one of them. I think it was a Monday. Don't remember which week. It's irrelevant because I can paraphrase the story. But I'm writing for LouisianaSports.net, and I can't go to the press conferences because it bumps into my show. So I watch them on YouTube. If there's something breaks, I can write the story there. But I can't go ask the question. So Matt said, anything you'd like me to ask Brian Kelly? And I said, yeah, I do have a question. When you're hiring an assistant, have you put the recruiting part of it on the back burner and just gone for play callers, developers, guys with eyes for talent, that kind of thing? And so Matt asked the question, like when you're hiring a staff, do you care about the recruiting aspect of it, or when you feel like that's all money and you've got a war chest ready to go and you'll be able to get kind of who you want with that and you need guys to coach them, do you look at it that way? And Brian Kelly said, no, you still have to develop relationships with players. You still have to be involved with them personally. You can't just have a robot that teaches the technical aspect of football and completely dismiss the fact that you have to have a connection with your players. Because keep in mind, once they get here, if you don't have a connection with them once you're here, you're still recruiting them. And they can still leave if they don't feel like you're as invested as maybe somebody else could be. And that's not talking about finances. You've got to be able to connect with the guys in your position group so they don't get up and leave. So it's interesting because I feel like it's a different landscape than it's ever been, but Brian Kelly still kind of feels the same way about how he wants to hire a staff. And so I'm sure that he will scour the country. And I'll tell you this, this is something I feel confident in saying without even having the result. I feel like it is likely that LSU lands a highly reputable defensive line coach in this search. I think it's likely because you're at one of the top 10 college football programs in the country. You already have a budget of over $1 million for a defensive line coach. And it's in the Southeastern Conference where guys are able to progress and move up in their careers. And I think that Blake Baker's awesome to work for. And I think that LSU will land a good one. I also feel like it's likely that I will look at the hire and say, wish they had Bo Davis. That's probably where we're headed. Now, maybe they surprise me. Maybe you look up and you grab somebody and go, wow, that's impressive. But I think it's likely they get a good one with a great resume that could do really good things here. And I'll feel like you probably had the best guy prior to that. Now, as Preston Guy talked about earlier in our show, like Bo Davis has gotten some commitments and he's brought in some players. He hasn't brought in the highest of the high profile. He hadn't been here long enough to really do that. He's only signed one class with a full year of work. He was only here for 13 months. But I think that it's likely over time he would have built that. And I've talked about this, like you've got some guys that I felt like you really were going to have for the long haul. Like I don't see Frank Wilson making a move imminently. I don't see Corey Raymond trying to dip his toe back outside of LSU in the short term. And I felt that way about Bo Davis as well. And I feel that way about Brad Davis. That's 4 big-time position coaches. Certainly your coordinators, you feel like those guys are always looking at what could be next as a head coach. But I felt like your position coaches you were going to have for a while. And so when Bo Davis pulled the rug there, like it was a jarring thing to me. I don't know how jarring it was to Brian Kelly. And Pete Jenkins said on Matt's show yesterday that like, yeah, this was decided last week. So Brian Kelly's had some time to lay the groundwork. He's going to put some names together. He's going to conduct a thorough search. And I think they'll land a very quality assistant coach to help run the defensive line. But I feel like you probably had the guy that you really wanted in that spot, and that's why you paid him as much as you did to lure him from one of the best jobs in the country at Texas. And to have him leave 13 months later is just a gut punch. It just is. And so we'll see how LSU manages life post Bo Davis on the defensive line. It's something they're used to. They've had 8 different coaches in 6 years on the defensive line. It has just been a revolving door on the defensive front for LSU. If you're looking for LSU content, you can always find it Hunt on LSU, wherever you find your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Hunt on LSU. If you like, subscribe, rate, review, get your LSU football content all year round. Certainly appreciate y'all for paying attention to us on the LSU football side of things for 365 days out of the year. Friday shows are brought to you by Course. We'll come back and close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Look, Jonathan Carver and his team pride themselves on their technical expertise. They're able to dive into an insurance policy and find those pesky exclusions. They're able to look at your limits and understand what they should be versus what they may be right now. Cost is always going to be a factor in buying your insurance. It always is. The Highland Insurance Group understands that. But it's not the only factor. If you're looking for a magic bullet, you want to make a phone call, have 20% up the top of your premium, and move forward, this is not the phone call for you. But if you want to make sure as a business owner that your business is protected in a time of crisis, whether that's a cyber attack that you didn't see coming, bad car accident, lawsuits aplenty, make sure your insurance program is ready to respond, and make sure the Highland Insurance Group is the one that takes care of you in that instance. They're an independent broker. They've got contracts with dozens of carriers. They'll make sure your business is properly placed in the insurance market. It's the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at highlandig.com, highlandig.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Join us at the Louisiana Outdoor Expo at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center from March 14th to the 16th. Head over to the front or back booth and register for your chance to win a U10 New Canoe, a compact, versatile kayak, perfect for fishing and hunting adventures. Visit 1045ESPN.com for details. You can also join LSU Athletics and the Tiger Athletic Foundation for Bayou Tradition's second annual gala, a Louisiana Saturday night featuring Jordan Davis, Shreveport's own, on the field in Tiger Stadium Saturday, May 3rd. We are giving you on-field access. Register to win a spot at our table at 1045ESPN.com. Support LSU student athletes' NIL opportunities and reserve your table at lsutaf.org/events. You can also catch the Pels tonight at 8 p.m. and they travel to face the Jazz. And also they'll play them on Sunday night at 7. Pelicans coverage is brought to you locally by Industry Makes.
I got a feeling not a lot of folks in New Orleans going to be locked in on the Pels tonight.
Probably not. Probably not. Probably makes sense they're playing on the road.
Parades as there are. Yeah. Just a different time in New Orleans, Mardi Gras time. Not a lot of NBA fans locked in.
I haven't watched the Pels game in a while now. I don't even know if they're wearing Mardi Gras uniforms right now. I haven't seen them.
You're asking the wrong
I know
dude.
You don't know, but I mean, considering who the uniforms are, I figured you should probably be informed on these matters.
No, I'm not.
I saw your tweet about the UNO uniforms.
They look Navy to me. I think
it looks
missed.
Navy, which, I mean, did they actually do that because they're Navy or like their colors are blue? I don't know.
I'm told via Twitter that it was the lighting and that it is purple,
possible.
but it looks Navy to me.
Yeah, it does.
LSU's on the board with a pair of runs. Derek Curiel with an RBI triple. He came in to score on a safety squeeze by Danny Dickinson. So LSU leads 2-0 as they head to the bottom of the third inning in Frisco, Texas. All right, Beck, how are we feeling about my decision? When we came off the air yesterday, I was very much in limbo, deciding whether or not to go to Frisco.
Yeah.
Made the decision. We're going to stay. We were supposed to have a 5:30 flight out of Baton Rouge this morning, go to Frisco, do the show at the stadium, watch a little baseball, cover the games, play 2 rounds of golf at PGA Frisco, which will host a Ryder Cup and a PGA Championship in the coming years. Potentially, Dad picking up the tab for a steak, driving over from Shreveport. I mean, that's a pretty good weekend, and I'm not there. Do we feel like that was the proper decision?
To me, it feels like you could have went because it's not that far.
6 hours.
It's 6 hours, and you could maybe catch a flight if you really need to.
We looked at flights. There were 3 that were direct from Dallas to Baton Rouge tomorrow, Saturday. It's like an 8 o'clock, a 1 o'clock, and a 9 o'clock or something.
Yeah. And that's a short flight, so it wouldn't take you long.
Like an hour and a half.
Yeah, so I'm feeling like I don't know, Hunt. I mean, that's just my opinion.
We're 35 weeks in here.
That's close.
Technically early. I mean,
it's
Myers
still
came
early.
at 38, but there were some things going on. I felt like the decision was made that it was better if I stayed in Baton Rouge and we didn't have the baby, as opposed to me going to Dallas and we did have the baby.
Hunt, I'm not gonna say that you didn't make the correct decision. You in terms of the possibilities of what could have happened, you probably made the correct decision. But of course, hindsight is always 20/20, and most likely the baby will not come in the next few days.
That's true.
That's just how it goes. Those are the breaks.
Yeah. Although one of the real side effects here that we didn't get to see me attempt to put together the Comrex
that would
on
have
the
been,
concourse of the baseball stadium.
I was hoping for that. I really was. I was really excited to see how many problems
we had Bo Wegman, the engineer, all queued up with FaceTime. We had rehearsed it twice upstairs, trying to get it all set up. I think people are pretty well aware at this point that I don't know one button that's being pushed to get this on the air anywhere. So getting that all set up was going to be quite a chore. I was going to have to set it up on the concourse, get the table skirt put out, get all the Comrex set up, as well as the headphones, as well as the StreamYard and the camera with the tripod all set up.
I was very worried about the StreamYard, all that stuff. I was like, there's no way he's getting this video set up. He maybe get the Comrex. He's gonna need help for sure on the Comrex, but the video, I'm not. I
feel like in my rehearsals, the video went okay. The Comrex, it was a little iffy.
Cassie has got some.
Well, I was rooting for you because I was looking forward to the day off.
Yeah, you were gonna have the day off.
Set up your own video. I didn't need to do anything.
We need you into work here on this Mardi Gras Friday. Working hard here. We appreciate you coming out. So we'll see if the baby comes this weekend. I'll be vindicated in my decision. If not, it'll be quite a missed opportunity. I'll be a little bit sad about that. But we're looking forward to whenever this baby does.
Yes, of course.
So. Hope my dad and his friend have fun with my team.
Oh, so he's still going to go?
By the way, the PGA Frisco, what I talked about, he's there. His best friend lives there, so they're going to play.
Okay.
Tell me what you think about this. You played a lot of golf in your day in the South, have you not?
I have.
PGA Frisco requires pants year-round, and you have to walk the championship course.
Okay, now walking the championship course is not, that's not out of the realm.
That's fine.
The pants is pretty interesting.
In pants in Dallas?
90 degrees? Yeah, that's a bit much.
I feel like they're going to lose business on that.
I mean,
there are some people in their 60s, 70s that are like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass out.
That is crazy. Yeah, that's just overkill. I mean, it really is. Like, I don't understand how.
If Pebble Beach, which they don't make you wear pants, but if they wanted to and it's 50 every day, that's fine.
That's fine.
Dallas in August is 106.
Yeah, that's no good.
I'm glad that my dad checked on that because I was not going to bring pants to play golf in because it's going to be 75 degrees.
Yeah.
But here we are.
I'm playing golf Saturday morning. It's going to be about 45 degrees here. So,
rumor has it I may be playing golf tomorrow as well.
Wow.
We'll see.
I'm just going to let the audience know here that I asked Hunt if he wanted to play golf with me yesterday. I'm playing at J.S. Clark, which is a really nice Breck golf course.
Good.
It was renovated a few years ago. Shout out to Breck for renovating it. It's a great job they did. But Hunt is just too much of a golf.
It's a business meeting.
Okay. That's the excuse you're going to use here.
I don't think it's an excuse. It's real.
But just let the record show as well that yesterday that was not on the table, and he just simply said no because he's too much of a golf.
That's not true. I got a pregnant wife. I couldn't make it.
Okay, but now you can still play them.
It's close to the house. I can get to the house in like 4 minutes from this golf.
All right. That's fine. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
I actually do have one here. I just found something here. College football, the NCAA Football Rules Committee has proposed a timeout to be charged whenever medical personnel enter the field to evaluate players after the ball has been spotted for the ensuing play. Teams without timeouts would be assessed a 5-yard delay of game penalty for each instance.
Leave it in a hurry.
Leave it alone.
That's absurd.
Okay, this is trying to prevent the fake injuries.
I get it. And it's a hard thing to tackle. I get it when you're talking about guys have to sit out the rest of the series, all that kind of, like, it's a difficult thing to tackle, but that's too punitive to actual injuries. Like, sometimes guys feel like they can go and then maybe they can't. Like, it's just, that's overkill for me. I don't need that.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit overboard. This is really hard. I don't know how you figure this out to where it works every time and don't make mistakes, but that's just how it goes. But anyway, that's it.
All right, that's when we have 30 seconds left, so that's properly timed there. If you missed any of our show today, catch it on demand. Wherever you find your podcast, just search Hunt Palmer Show. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks. Kate Anderson looking good. LSU leads 2-0 after 3 over in Frisco. Matt's going to drive you home next one after further review. We're out of here. Probably back same time, same place, unless there's a kid involved, but we'll find out later this weekend. Have a good one. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.